Hey everyone, welcome. Happy Monday. I'm just waiting for this to open up here for a sec. Welcome. Happy Monday. All right. All righty. All right. So if you're joining us, just let us know. Say hi. Come on out. What's up, Kev? All right. Broski, I don't know. I see you on here, but I don't know if you wanted to join and actually talking to me here. If you do, let me know. What's up, Richard? Miss your face, buddy. Enjoy your videos and miss your face. What's up, Matt? Who else we got on here? Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Jazz. Hello. All right. So I wanted to chat today about Charlottesville and specifically I think obviously we have an audience from all over the world. So just before I dive into it, does everyone that's not here in the U.S., because I'm sure everyone in the U.S. knows, but does everyone that's not in the U.S. Know what actually happened here and what the big hubbub is all about? Okay. All right, cool, bro. Oh, hey, what's up, Moti? What's up, Marta? Hey, Petra, Ian. Welcome. All right, so let me just, because there might be people here that don't know. So basically what happened is a bunch of neo-Nazi white supremacists decided that they were going to have I just lost the word. Basically, not a fair. That's the wrong word. Like a protest of sorts. And a rally, that's the word I'm looking for. And so these white supremacist Nazis decided they're going to have a rally. And so a group of, let's call them sane human beings, decided that they were going to be there in protest. So things at some point got heated, and one of the guys in the white supremacist party got into a car and drove through the protest and ended up killing a woman. So one woman died and put about 19 others in the hospital. So that was bad in its own right. And then the rest of it now has kind of like spun into this whole mega, media loves this kind of story. And our president came out, and instead of, this is what people are really, really pissed off about, instead of condemning basically the white supremacists and neo-Nazis, he basically said, both sides of this were to blame, and then people went irate. So obviously the country, again, is very, very divided with a lot of hate and all sorts of things being thrown around. And it's just tough to listen to. It's gotten so ingrained, the story, and spun so fast that I was just watching SportsCenter today, which is just like a sports channel with sports news, and 30 minutes of it was all about this and how they tied it to this other guy who now there's black players who are sitting or kneeling during the play during Star Spangled Banner, and they're tying this all into this. So it's just become this very spun out of control story. And so I've just been sitting there kind of thinking about all of this and wanted to just share hopefully a different perspective. And I'd love if any of you guys have feedback or anything like that, or anything that you'd love to share, please drop it in the comment box. I just wanted to bring a different light to this, because the stuff that I'm hearing, and I think that most of you in this country are hearing, I don't really think is going to create any of the kind of shift that we as human beings, or especially you human beings who are on here listening to this right now, I don't think that that's the way that we're going to create any sort of real change. And the issue really stems from, there's two things I want to speak about today. One is I want to speak about forgiveness, okay? And two, I want to speak of why this will keep occurring and what will truly stop these kind of acts from ever occurring. And that is our idea that we are separate. So it's a human condition. Let's talk about separateness first. It's a human condition that there is me and that there is out there. And it's something that is a human condition because as a baby, when you're first born, there is no you and out there. There's just all of it. You believe that you are the out there, and it's not until I believe the age of about a year or so where we finally start to get, there's them and there's me. Us and them. And as long as that is the thought process that we as human beings have, that is really our next evolution. Because once we get to a point that we understand and feel as if the person standing next to you or somewhere else in the world is you, and that by you harming them in any sort of way, whether it is negatively speaking about them or physically harming them in any way, that you have it like that is harming yourself, then these are the things that are going to continue. And if you followed any of this and what's been happening here in this country, right? Something like this happens, and then what do? People pick sides. And they pick sides like, these people believe what I believe. These people don't believe what I believe. So I love these people. I hate these people. Which does, in any sense of the word, what? More of the same. Just because we're not getting in cars and running them over doesn't make talking shit about them and treating them like subhuman beings, it doesn't make the situation any better. All it does is create more of that separateness. Now, you might think that what I'm saying to you right now is absolutely crazy. And so I want to bring in this other piece, which is going to tie this together and kind of we can have this conversation going from there. So I was in a seminar once, and a man gets up there and talks about his life. And the leader at the time was asking him all sorts of questions, and it somehow started boiling down to an incident when this man, who at the time was a man, well into his 30s, had a lot of hate towards a lot of different people. And this coach was trying to understand where this hate kind of came from. And he starts sharing a story that when he was 7 years old, his dad, who was an alcoholic, sat him down and sat in front of him with a loaded gun and held the loaded gun to his forehead. Meanwhile, this is his 7-year-old son, just so you guys keep this in perspective. Held a loaded gun to his son's forehead and told him that he was going to kill him. I remember sitting there listening to this and thinking two things. One, what the fuck is wrong with this man that in any sort of way, shape, or form, this seems like that's what needs to be done at this point. Like, that was just, I couldn't get my head around it. The second thing I couldn't understand is, what was this coach possibly going to say to this man to make this okay? Because in my world, I was like, that man should fucking die. And, obviously, like, I'm sure you guys have, as you heard that story, I'm sure you guys had certain feelings and things come up, right? And the next question that came out of this coach's mouth was so beyond my comprehension that it literally rocked me to my core. And the conversation that ensued was just absolutely incredible. And he asked a very simple question. And the very simple question was, can you forgive your father? And I was like, forgive him? This drunk asshole who held a loaded gun to a 7-year-old's head, forgive him? What forgive? Find him, throw him in jail. Like that, like I'm getting heated just listening to this conversation. So I couldn't even imagine what was going on for this man that was sitting there and being asked this question. And he proceeded to make a very, very important distinction, which I really, really want to share with you today, in hopes that you gain access to forgiveness in a way that you've never had access to forgiveness before. Because truly, forgiveness, and they have done studies on this, like the greatest way to get into theta brainwaves, meaning like the deepest states of meditation, is by forgiveness. So finding something, whether it's about yourself, forgiving yourself, or forgiving others, or certain circumstances or situations, the bigger the situation and the more forgiveness you have to bring to it, the more theta waves are created. Now, in theta is where magic happens. That's where we manifest. That's where we create. That's where love emanates from. So you can start to understand how powerful forgiveness is. And if we as a community, as a totality, as humanity and culture can emanate this frequency of forgiveness, it can shift the way the planet works. And so when I see opportunities like this, whether it's mass shootings, whether it's terrorist attacks, whether it's things like that, I always come back to, how can I forgive? And here's what this man said that was just beyond anything I'd heard. There's two things about forgiveness. Forgiveness is giving up the ability to hold something over someone forever. So when you forgive someone fully, it is with the knowing that you never get to bring that up again, and you never hold that thing against them, to that level of forgiveness, okay? Now here's the issue. He said something really, really smart. He said, when you're angry at someone, when you're mad at someone, when you're frustrated with someone, when you hate someone, who do you think that affects? Do you think that person that you're directing all that hate and frustration and anger towards, do you think that they feel any of that? They don't. And in most cases, they don't even know that you're fuming or mad or angry or frustrated, because they're going on living their life in their own head with their own shit. So he said, hate is like you drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. Because that hate, that frustration, that anger, that is affecting you. That is affecting your ability to send love. That is affecting your frequency and your ability to manifest that which you truly want in your life. It has nothing to do with the other person over there. It's like Richard exactly pointed out. That hate energy is inside you. That is the thing that causes cancer. That is the thing that creates dis-ease in someone's body. And the more angry we get and the more frustrated we get, we think in some weird way that that's somehow going to impact that person. Like that person really knows that I'm angry at them. They don't even care. So when you forgive someone, you're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving for you. You're releasing this energy of hate and darkness that is just festering inside of you right now so that you can be whole and complete and full of love and create the environment of love and fulfillment and manifestation that you truly want in your life. So I was like, okay, that's very interesting. I can really get behind that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But still, here's my voice going, right? But still, this man held a gun to his son's head. How? Explain to me how you expect this 30-something-year-old to forgive that. And he said something so brilliant that I'd never even thought of. And maybe you have. And if you have, I think it's a really good reminder, especially at times like this, that when you forgive someone, it doesn't mean that you condone what they've done. When you forgive someone, it's not you saying it's okay what you did. It's just forgiving them for what they did. So at this point, I remember kind of sitting back and going, okay, that's a bit different of a perspective. Because I definitely don't condone what that man did to his son. And she said something else. She said, so the dad, she kept asking questions about the dad. And the dad was alcoholic and abusive, both physically and verbally. And she asked a really smart question. She said, how was his dad with him? So in other words, this guy's grandfather. And wouldn't you know it, he was exactly the same way. Right? At any given moment, every single one of us can only choose based on all of the information and experience and knowledge that we have at that given time. That's a fact. Look back at choices that you made throughout your whole life. You only ever made a choice based on what you knew at that time. Now, this dad, at that time, his experience of life was very, very similar, right? His dad did this to him. This is what he knew. In his world, it wasn't even that crazy. It actually made a whole lot of sense in some strange way that I don't think any of you guys here will ever understand. And Guy, who I wish was on here, and I'm sure if he was, he would say something like, every single one of us has the ability to be a murderer. Every single one. And you might be going, no, there's no way I would do that. And I will tell you this. If someone came into your house with a gun or a knife and threatened to do horrible things to your family, whether your wife or your husband or your kids, you will become an animal just like the rest of us. And you will use what you know at that time to protect that which you love. Now, may we never, ever, ever be put in situations that we even have to experience that. And I just want you to come from a place of some sort of compassion, because separation comes from their animals. I'm not. I'm so much better. I would never. And while I would love to think that that is the case, I want you to get that given the right circumstances, we are all capable of doing heinous things. I would love to think that if someone came into my home with all of the knowledge and all the stuff that I have, that I would not succumb to that. And I honestly don't know that I would. Because if someone threatened my family, I don't think I would even be there to witness what would happen next. So, I want to build on this and give you some ways that I've started to look at human beings. And this is from having read so many books and having worked with so many incredible people about my understanding. And again, this is just my limited understanding. I just want to share this perspective with you because I think in these times it's really important. But my understanding of why stuff like this happens. So I actually re-released recently. So I don't know. I hope that all you guys listen to our Have It All podcast. And we just re-released an episode that I did from the performance enhancing podcast days about the soul and the sun. It's a book by Neil Donald Walsh, and it's a brilliant book, and it really helps explain what this is and how this kind of happens. Another guy who wrote a great book about this, if you want to take a read, is a book by Stuart Wilde, and it's called, the name will come to me. But anyway, all his books are great. So ultimately, if you come from a understanding or belief, let's say, that we are all souls who chose to have a certain human experience, okay? Meaning you're in this incredible soul world where everyone can experience everything. You are everything, nothing, right? Meaning you are love, you are peace, you are gratitude and forgiveness and all that stuff. You're all of it, and everyone around you is all of it. And so because of that, you can't experience yourself as any of these things because you are all of it and everyone around you is all of it, right? It's all light. There is no darkness, so there's no contrast. And so what do we want to do? We want to experience certain things. One of them could be experience forgiveness. And so you decide that you want to come into this world and experience forgiveness. Now, in order to come into this world and experience forgiveness, what would you need? You would need something to forgive, right? Now, how would you have something to forgive? So what this book explains so brilliantly is, because up in the soul world, right, we have connections and groups and people that we're with, souls that we're with. So this other soul that loves you says to you, listen, I'm willing to come down with you and do something horrible to you so that you could experience forgiveness. And so the soul goes, well, why would you do that? You would have to make your energy so dark and heinous. He said, I would do that because I love you. And you want to experience forgiveness, so I will do this for you so that you can experience forgiveness. And I just ask one thing in return, that in the moment that I do this horrible thing to you, that you remember that I'm me, that I am the soul of God, just like you. I don't know why people choose to do the things they do. I don't. What I choose to believe is that we all come from the same place. We are all part of the same light. And certain of us have chosen to come and have certain life experiences, and certain of us have chosen to come and offer opportunities for us to grow and develop and create that level of global consciousness for the rest of us. And just because someone does X, it doesn't give us the right to think of them as anything less than the soul that they are. And even if we cannot understand why they did that which they did, if you could just remember that just like you, they've come from the same place and they're part of the same source and they're part of the same God that you might believe in or not believe in, or energy, or whatever you want to call it. And that it's our job to remember that they are that. Because the second we start interacting with that situation or that person as they are anything less than that, we've now succumbed to the same level. We've sold out on our experience. Because really, there is no life happening out there. It's just what's in here being manifested out there. And so when I listen to people banter back and forth about how terrible these human beings are and what shit they are and how they shouldn't be alive and blah, 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 I'm not inhuman, right? Like, parts of me get it. Like, I do. And my soul constantly reminds me of two things. One, this is the path that they chose to come here. I don't know why. Trust me that they've been on the other end of that too. The guy that killed was killed before. We just keep coming down here. If you guys haven't read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, I highly, highly recommend that series. The last book, called Awaken the Species, is just so brilliant. Every single one of us comes here into this earth, into this physical body, to experience life in every single way as a human being. To be the killer, to be killed. To be the rapist, to be raped. To die young, to die old. To be a man, to be a woman. To be black, to be white. To be gay, to be transgender, to all of it. Why? Because your soul is seeking all physical experiences so that you might have compassion for every single other experience. Have you noticed that when you go through an experience, how much more compassion you have for every single other person that goes through that experience? And it's very different than the compassion that you would have in theory of that. For example, like someone that's gone through cancer and has beaten cancer has a very different level of compassion for someone going through that than someone who just knew someone that's gone through that. Or someone that just feels bad that someone has to go through that, right? Very, very different. So, Brody, I would love to hear what that breakthrough was. So there's a couple of things that I just constantly remind myself of. And one is, I'm Jewish, but I think Jesus Christ was a brilliant human being, or avatar that we got to experience. So one is a saying by Jesus Christ, which is, forgive them, they know not what they do. And I really understood the power of that when I was reading that book by Stuart Wilde, which if you guys remind me at the end, I will definitely look at for you. And he talks about vibrations, right? So for those of you guys that follow us at SatoriPrime and listen to our podcasts and are in our programs, I would venture to say, I would assert that what you are seeking in life is to raise your vibration. Now, you might quote that in a million different ways, right? Like, I want more money, I want better relationships, I want better health, etc. And I would say to that, in order to achieve any and all of those things, the game you're playing is raising your vibration. Because as you raise your vibration, by the virtue of that, what you are doing is you're attracting new vibrations to you. So for those of you guys that have been on a journey with us, I know Tori, I saw on here, like, he's been on the journey, so he can definitely attest to this. Like, as you raise your vibration, you magnetize to you different people, different circumstances, different opportunities, all of it. So consider this, that there are people in this world right now who are vibrating at a level that is very, very low. Say, like, let's just make up numbers, right? So say like baseline is 5,000 hertz, right? And say someone like a Buddha or a Jesus was 30,000, right? And then there's like that whole spectrum in between. I'm making all this shit up, by the way. This is not like, I'm not giving you real numbers. As you go through these frequencies, can you see how those frequencies that are below you at any given time would become far more evident, right? Because there's contrast now. And what I always remind myself is this: they chose to come in and experience life at that frequency, to test and see if they can break the bonds of that frequency in this lifetime, to create their transformation for their soul's sake. And if they don't do it this life, they will keep coming back here time and time again until they are able to make that manifest. Now, who am I to judge that that person's journey is not correct, or that they should be living a life this way or that way? I'm not God. I haven't chosen that person's journey. I've chosen my journey. You've chosen your journey. And all the ups and downs and all the things that, upset you or frustrate you or whatever it is, those are the things that you've asked for. They're happening for you so that you can grow and experience life in all new ways. And so when things like this happen, I always go back to, okay, I don't know what's happening in that soul's journey. I don't know what triggered that man to get behind the car and mow down 20 people. I don't. And I sure as fuck don't condone it. And I can understand it. I can. For all I know, that person signed a contract with that who I would perceive as a poor girl. But again, that's my human judgment, right? And those two people were lovers in a different life who decided that this time around, she wanted to experience sudden death. And this man decided, you know what? I'm going to hit you with a car. He turned his energy that dark so that that person can experience that. More than that, that person's family now gets to deal with forgiveness. And I'm sure you've seen both sides of this, right? Like, there's so many times where people, I mean, it's one of the things, like someone told me a long time ago that the things that move you are who you are. The things that move you are like, when you're moved to tears, it's who you are. And for me, it's always been when people are just so kind to another human being for absolutely no reason. So like movies where a family will take in a kid off the streets and raise him. Movies where people are able to forgive. And I watched this man forgive his father on stage. And I wept like a baby. And I wept like a baby because I honestly don't, it's something that I wish, like, I was like, man, I wish I could do that. And that's when I heard that line, you know, the things that move you are in you. So I think we've all been given an opportunity, and that's what I wanted to share with you here today. And whether this hit home for you or not, you know, the whole thing that's happening in Charlottesville, I'm sure you can find something in your life that you've been angry or frustrated or holding a grudge over. And I'm inviting you to see it from a different perspective, to come from an understanding and a compassion that this soul knows not what it does. And it chose to have this experience, and you've been on the other side of that experience. You've done that to another human being at some point, or will in your, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of lifetimes that you choose to come here. Because the game of a soul being in a human body is to experience all of it. And that's amazing that as a race, we have amnesia every time we come back, right? And we get to do it all over again. And that's why at SatoriPrime, what we say is like, we help you remember. We help you remember who you are. We help you remember all of these lessons that you have inside of you. You know, for some of you guys, and I'll read here what Brody said in a second, like, but for some of you inside, you know, when you hear certain things like this, so like Brody said he had a breakthrough right now. And Brody, what I'd assert, and I'd venture to say that, it's not like you heard something or like, oh my God, I've literally never heard that ever. This is like the most, there's something inside you that went, oh yeah, I remember. Because this whole process truly is remembering who you truly are. Remembering that you're God energy and everyone around you is God energy. And if you knew that the person standing next to you, or your loved one, or your boss, or your roommate, or your friend was you, is you, why would you ever hurt them? Why would you ever hurt yourself? That will truly be the awakening of this species. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen in this lifetime. I don't. What I do know is that if enough of us are having this kind of conversation, and enough of us are willing to stand up and alter the conversation and share love and forgiveness instead of making every single thing right and constantly picking sides, I'll probably get a shit ton of flack for this video. And for those of you guys that share it, I honor you. Because there's a whole lot of people out there that probably think I'm fucking crazy for even saying this stuff. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I truly am. Because I realize that we're at different frequencies, different vibrations at this point. And this stuff to them sounds like noise. And for anybody else who you hear this and you realize that like raising and I'm talking about you, like hand on chest, like raising my vibrational frequency for the sake of humanity is my job, then guess what? We start a movement. And that movement allows for new vibrations and new frequencies and thereby new circumstances to arise. And that we can all be responsible for. So I hope this landed for you. And I hope it was timely. And I want to read what some of you guys here wrote. All right, so let me see. All right, so Brody wrote, okay. This really hits home why you treat others the same way you want to be treated, because eventually you will most likely experience that too, or already have experienced that somewhere in your life. Yeah, exactly. In your multiple souls' lives. We're all on similar frequency. Even the individual people in this group did not show up by accident. Glad to be on this journey. Yeah, exactly. That's Brody, that is so accurate, right? Like, guys, we've all magnetized each other. You guys get that? Like, here's the thing. Guy and I, when we were in Colombia, I had this vision. And I was like, the way most people approach acquiring clients or whatever, right? It's like they go through life with a flashlight in a dark room and they're like, are you my client? Will you be part of my tribe? Right? And I was in Colombia and I was like, that's not how it works. What we get to do, the opportunity every single one of you has, not just me or Guy, is to send a beacon of light out into the multiverse so fucking high and so fucking bright that, like moth to a flame, people are attracted to it. And who is going to be attracted to it? People that vibrate at the same frequency, or maybe slightly below, and are looking at like, I want to vibrate at that frequency. And yes, every single one of you here, every single one of you listening to the video or our podcast or in our 100-day masterclass or that have downloaded our app, that app you've called into your life. We just send out the damn signal. It's amazing how this stuff works. Truly amazing how this stuff works. Yeah, Kathleen, I agree. I would have loved to have had Guy on here. Yeah. All right, let me see. Crazy fucking awesome. Thanks, Tori. Yeah, so I'd love to hear, what's opening up for you? What are you hearing? What are you taking on in your life? Like, where do you see that you can offer this and share this and bring this new energy, frequency to our planet, to our species, so that we can make the shift, which I think every one of you on here, I am sure, wants to be a cause and an impact in that shift. And by the way, guys, if this is speaking your language, I want to make a couple of options available to you, and let me just put them here. So the best and the first and foremost is to be on our app. app.SatoriPrime.com. I would just encourage you guys to grab that because that's just an amazing, you can get our 10-part mini series, and from there, we'll invite you to come look at our 100-day masterclass and just find out more about us. The second thing is take a listen to our podcast, have it all, just search for it on iTunes or Stitcher. Just be involved in this conversation. And if this resonates with you in any way, shape, or form, like, share this energy, whether in your own words or you want to use our words. I don't care. I'm not attached to how this looks. I just really love for you to be a part of creating this impact and shift in the world, and not be someone that's just opining about they fucking suck and they're wrong and we should make them wrong and make sure that everyone knows that they're wrong. Who cares? That's never gotten us anywhere. Literally anywhere. All right, guys. Z, when you're saying about download this, just tell me specifically what you want to download. Is it this video or the app? Richard, we can all just get out there and do it right now, tonight. Start sharing vibrations and being beacons and being brave around people who we know might find it new or a stretch. Brilliant, buddy. I love you. It's all about vibration and frequency. You're absolutely right, Matthew. Fucking amazing how it works. Yes, Kev, I totally agree. This video, I don't know how you could download this video. When this will be done, I mean, you could share this video. I'm sure you can save this video. Once I shut down this will post as a video on our SatoriPrime page. And then, you know, hopefully you can get it. If not, Z, and you really want it, just let me know, because I will have a copy of this as well that we can put on YouTube and things like that. So, and thank you for doing that. All right, what do you do when your life is changing rapidly, career changes, environment, movement, things that have traumatic effects on your physical? How do you stay focused? Is it going out and doing something you love? Is it gratitude? Is it go? Ooh, it's a great question. Brody, here's what I promise. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this, and on Wednesday's Q&A session, I will talk about this. So come back Wednesday, and we will chat about that. Wednesday, by the way, is at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can check that out. Zanardo, what's up, babe? Being a beacon of light versus playing game of right, wrong conversations. Thank you, navigating this conversation so beautifully, Elon. You are so welcome. And thank you for being someone who's, I know, out there shifting these kind of conversations. And that's it, guys. I want to tell you all that I love you. I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I think all of you would agree that you are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So at the end of the day, who the heck are we to judge? Right? If instead all we did was love on one another, if instead all we did was be grateful for everything that shows up in our lives, and had the fortitude to just, in the midst of all of the madness and chaos and upset and to just still be centered enough to get, this is happening for me. And so whatever this triggered, like whether it's this conversation or what happened in Charlottesville, like whatever it triggered for you, that's your thing to handle. Don't worry about out there. Don't worry about just what did it create for you? What's the vibration? What's the frequency that you got left with? What's the story that you are left with? And see how that's playing out in your life. And if you can handle that, then this will have not been a tragedy. This could have been a victory for humanity. With that, guys, I will leave you. I absolutely love all of you. Go love on the people you love, and even love on the people that you don't love even more. Love you guys. Have an amazing, amazing week.